are broadcasted live on the official resources of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine and of the advisory group of experts. Now, I would like to give the floor first to AGE Secretary, Mr. Yaroslav Romanuk, to announce the purpose and preliminary agenda of our today's meeting. So, Mr. Yaroslav, please, the floor is yours.
Дякую, пане голово.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Dear colleagues, welcome. As requested by, we had an application from a deputy member, Igor Protsuk, about early termination of his mandate. According to the regulation, at the meeting, the advisory group of experts decides on early termination of the powers of a member of the AGE in accordance with Part 15, Article 10-2 of the Law of Ukraine on the Constitutional Court of Ukraine. Thus, based on the analogy of the law, this same requirement can apply to the considerations of early termination of the powers of the deputy AGE member. At the same time, similarly to Part 16 of Article 10-2 of the Law of Ukraine on the Constitutional Court of Ukraine, in case early termination of powers of a deputy member is to be considered, the advisory group of experts shall inform the appointing body none later than within 3 days of the early termination of powers. Also, I would like to remind you that the consideration process and materials analysis regarding candidates for the position of judges for the Constitutional Court of Ukraine is underway. The Law of Ukraine and the Constitutional Court stipulates that the AGE must conduct public interviews with candidates within 4 months from the date of receiving all the documents regarding the candidates from their appointing body. Therefore, there's an objective and logical need to announce the dates for the interviews for as much transparency as possible and to build awareness of all the interested parties and the public. Thus, I propose, dear colleagues, to include 2 issues to our today's agenda. First one, let us consider an application of a deputy member of the advisory group of experts, Igor Protsuk, about early termination of his powers. And secondly, let us announce the dates of the interviews with candidates for the position of judges of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine. Colleagues, do you have any suggestions or comments on the agenda? No. Since there are no comments or other suggestions, I would propose to actually vote for the items of this agenda. Who is for? Who is against? I don't see anyone against. That's why the decision is positive and it is unanimous. So this proposed agenda of the AGE official meeting is approved.
Thank you, Yaroslav, Mr. Secretary. Colleagues, I propose to move on the first issue on the agenda as just being adopted. That is the consideration of the application of the deputy member of the advisory group of experts on early termination of his powers. As the AGE Secretary reported, we received an application from our colleague, AGE Deputy Member Mr. Igor Protyuk, about the early termination of his powers. All of you members and deputy members, in fact, you had the opportunity to familiarize with his application in advance. And we also talked with Mr. Protyuk about the reasons and circumstances of his decision. So I think we can make a decision regarding his application, but before voting, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Igor Protyuk to say some words about his request. So please, Mr. Igor, the floor is yours.
Дякую, пане голово. Шановні
Thank you very
колеги,
much, Mr. Chairman. Dear colleagues, first of all, allow me to thank you very much for the joint work together. I had an honor to work with very respected people as you are. For objective and independent reasons, I now have to leave the advisory group of experts. Thank you very much for your support, and I want to wish you very productive work, inspiration, and success.
Thank you, dear Igor. I would like now to ask members of the AGE whether there are any questions or remarks regarding his request. I see no. So if there are no questions or remarks, then I would like to ask you to vote on whether you approve the application of our colleague, deputy member of the AGE, Mr. Igor Protyuk, about his early termination of his powers. Please cast your vote. Who is for this decision? Thank you. Decision has been approved unanimously. So we approved the application of our colleague, deputy member of AGE, Mr. Igor Protyuk, about the early termination of his powers. At this point, I would like, on behalf of AGE, express our deep thanks to our colleague, Igor, for your fruitful work and efforts. We understand your situation. We know also that you live in Kharkiv. So in addition to everything else, we wish you and all our Kharkiv residents, of course, strength and safety. Thank you for being with us. So this item of the agenda was decided now, so we can move to the next one. But before that, I would like to ask if any other member of AGE wants to have a floor and maybe say something about the decision we just made. Is there any intervention?
дозвольте, пане голово.
Please.
Я також хочу
If I can,
подякувати.
Mr. Chairman, I would also like to extend my words of sincere gratitude to Igor Protyuk for this fruitful and joint work together, which has been particularly important for us, especially at the beginning stage of the AGE's engagement. First of all, I'd like to also draw your attention, dear colleagues, that the powers of the deputy member of AGE, Igor Protyuk, are terminated early on the day when the respective decision is made, which is today. At the same time, the advisory group of experts has to inform the appointing body, and in this case, this is the President of Ukraine, about early termination of Igor Protyuk's powers as a deputy member of the advisory group of experts. And we're supposed to do that within 3 days since the early termination. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yaroslav, dear colleague. Now I suggest that we move to the second item on our agenda. and that is the announcement of the dates of interviews with candidates for the position of the judge of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine. Previously, we have agreed on a range of dates for conducting these interviews. And our decision was to make it in the period between March 2nd and March 8th this year, inclusive. So I would like to remind you that currently the AGE is conducting an assessment of integrity level according to the methodology and according to the law. And based on the results of that interviews, we will determine who will be admitted to the next stage. The next stage is the assessment of the level of competence. So I ask you now, dear colleagues of AGE, do you have any questions, remarks, or suggestions regarding the interviews and the suggested period as indicated? So from March 2nd to March 8th this year. Any intervention from, let's say, international part of members? Maybe Hannah. Hannah, I see your hand. Please.
I put my hand. Thank you, Mr. President, for announcing the date and terms. And I would like to say clearly that interviews with candidates are exactly very important step and mandatory element of assessing candidates for the position of the judge of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine. And it is exactly for us a huge job. We agreed the dates, what it was announced by Mr. Chairman, and indeed all members and deputy members agreed for the terms, for the date. So I can see, and I would like to say that exactly the meeting is, the dates are adopted by all interesting parties, both international and Ukraine, because we are working as a unity, as a one group for making and looking for the best candidates to the Constitutional Court of Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Any other intervention? Oksana, please. I see your hand.
Щиро дякую, пане голово, шановні колеги.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Dear colleagues and all our viewers, I'd like to support Alish and Hanna about the importance of this stage when we have to interview all the candidates for the positions of judges of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine. I also believe that early announcement about the interview dates, as we've just done, from March 2 to March 8, 2024, will help our candidates to prepare and find the best time for the interviews. I also support the above-mentioned dates.
Thank you very much, dear colleague Oksana. I see no further requests for intervention. So I would like to thank you, colleagues, for your support. So now I can declare that the interviews with candidates for the positions of judges of Constitutional Court of Ukraine will take place from March 2nd to March 8th inclusive. Of course, the advisory group of experts will inform all 37 candidates in advance about exact time and place of the interview with each certain candidate. At the same time, I would like to remind you that all the interviews will be broadcasted live and everyone will be able to watch these interviews online. You should go to the resources of the advisory group of experts and Constitutional Court of Ukraine to watch these interviews live. So, dear colleagues, we have considered all the agenda issues for today. Thank you very much. Thank you for your support. Deepest thanks goes also to our secretariat for efficient work. Of course, we will continue meanwhile with our analysis of the materials about the candidates in order to provide the appointing bodies with a list of integrity and professional candidates. And last but not least, I should say I never get tired of urging the public to follow the work of advisory group of experts, and with their attention and participation, the public will be involved in the implementation of reforms in Ukraine. A successful reform simply requires this. So with this statement, I would like to declare the meeting of the AGE concluded. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you at our next meeting. Thank you.